Do you know what pet overpopulation is?
With what is?
A pet overpopulation? No.
No.
Sure don't.
It may be a hidden epidemic, but millions of cats and dogs are killed in the United States each year due to pet overpopulation. And the shockwaves are felt throughout the country. From city streets to overstuffed shelters, it's a problem that hits American taxpayers hard.
Estimates have run as high as $2 billion. That's an amazing amount of money.
Is that the last one?
It's a continuing cycle. There's so many of them, and it seems like it's never gonna stop.
Caught in this crisis are innocent animals who have almost no chance of survival.
The fact that so many animals are being destroyed bothers me terribly, when I know there are better ways to deal with these kind of problems.
We are in an emergency. The animals that end up in shelters have death on the line. We are failing our best friends.
The American novelist Christopher Morley once wrote, "No one understands the very special genius of your conversation as your pet does." I think Morley was right. Every word I say is pure genius to my new friend Lenny. Isn't that right, Lenny? Lenny? Lenny. Well, he's a little busy right now. Pets play some of the most enduring roles in our lives. Animals are constant companions and our most forgiving friends. And in almost every country around the world, these animals are in grave danger. In the United States, there are millions of unwanted dogs and cats, and most have no hope of survival. Tonight, we will follow one dog and one cat as they try to escape the harsh reality of pet overpopulation. July 9th, 2002, Los Angeles, California. As the sun breaks through the clouds on another warm day in the city, a squad from Animal Services takes to the streets.
He's on the sidewalk now.
Armed with lassos and walkie-talkies, this team is on the hunt for stray dogs. And in this city, like so many others in the United States, there is no shortage of targets.
Female.
Female, black chow.
There's a brown dog at the back end of this white van. I'm gonna pass it right now.
Roger, right behind you, send back.
My name is Officer Gonzalez, and I'm an animal control officer for LA City Department of Animal Services. We usually start about 6 o'clock in the morning. That's when all the animals are out.
Officer Miguel Gonzalez has worked for LA Animal Services for 15 years.
A lot of open space here. Yeah. It's crossing on your side.
We found it best to work in teams. We set up animal control officers on each side. We try to get a dog in between us. And the dogs that are stray and vicious are the hardest to get, and we found this the easiest way to capture. One of the tools that we use is a lasso. Most of the dogs in the street are afraid of us. Most of them will turn and run very fast. So we found it a lot easier to use a lasso. It's the safest way that I've seen also. We do catch them and slow the dog down enough to get an animal control device on them.
Good boy, good boy.
The fear that the officers instill in these dogs belies the object of their mission. They are here to try and help. These abandoned dogs are often so sick and so old that staying alive out on their own is all but impossible.
You almost dumbed me.
The greatest dangers to dogs left out on the street mainly is getting hit by a vehicle.
Of course, Gonzalez and his fellow officers are also looking out for the public.
This dog is old.
That's not to say that their work is always appreciated.
I own the dog.
Oh, you own the dog? Go ahead and give me your driver's license.
For what? You gonna give me the dog back?
Yeah.
Don't give me no ticket.
Well, you're gonna get it to me.
For what?
For the dog being out on public property.
I'm not talking to you. You gonna chase a 20-year-old dog? Go and chase some of these pit bulls and Rottweilers you got around here.
They told somebody about the dog
You didn't tell me, sir.
several times.
If he get put to sleep, I'll
Make sure you get there 4 days. You have 4 days. No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you 4 days. They'll hold him 4 days for you, okay? The last thing we want to do is take somebody's dog. I mean, that's the last resort. But if nobody wants to take responsibility until now they want the dog back. I mean, they're gonna have to go to the shelter to pick him up.
Around 7 a.m., the animal control team spots a lab mix on the loose.
Black dog on your way.
There he is, right here in the middle of the street. Did anybody see which way he went?
Just across the street. He's northbound on 9th Avenue. There he is. I'm gonna send him back towards you.
You just blocked him.
Still going south on 10th. Is anybody with me? Actually, he's crossing. He's crossing. Wow, close. Close.
For his lucky near miss in the street, this dog will be called Clover.
Just like a block away from the shelter.
I know.
He's now out of harm's way in the back of an animal control van.
Hi, buddy.
The long chase has left his paws bloody. Officer Gonzalez and the team will now bring him in for medical attention. For Officer Gonzalez, it's yet another day in a seemingly endless battle to help the city's stray dogs.
Sometimes it's hard to get up. I do get frustrated at times.
For Clover, it's the end of life on the streets, although not necessarily the end of his troubles. 1,700 miles from Los Angeles, on a cold December day in Chicago, Illinois, Melanie Sobel is hard at work.
Yes, I think.
The program director for the city shelter sees dozens of animals come in every day.
The worst thing about working at animal care control is seeing the numbers that constantly come in.
One of today's new arrivals is a kitten who was abandoned in a freezing tenement on the south side of the city.
Couldn't catch the mom because, she had got scratched, her eyes got scratched out. So this a regular stray? Yeah.
Chicago Animal Control picked her up and 2 others.
Okay. Next. This one comes from the police department, federal, under the stairs and the projects.
They were just running in the hallways.
Yeah.
We picked them up.
Animal control officers are perceived as, the big bad dog catchers, when in fact they're rescuing animals out of horrible, deplorable situations and bringing them into a shelter environment. You can't have 30,000 animals, running around the city of Chicago.
Last week we went to the houses. A lot of cats. We only could catch 2, but the cats had ran up into the ceiling of the house. And, the house was really terrible. It was really messed up. There's cats everywhere. Is that the last one? That's it. Okay. All right. right, you guys all set.
The kitten, destined to be dubbed Oreo due to her black and white markings, has to be evaluated.
When stray cats enter the facility, they are taken to an area right outside of medical where they're held until the medical staff is able to evaluate them and give them the necessary vaccinations and blood work that needs to be done to make sure that they don't infect the other animals in the population.
At first, her fear is evident as she meows in displeasure, chiming in with the chorus of cats in the shelter. But Oreo soon takes to the warmth and relative comfort of her new home, taking full advantage of the snack bar. Oreo is unaware that her life is hanging in the balance. But the real question is, does the public even understand why she is here?
Do you know what pet overpopulation is?
What is?
A pet overpopulation? No.
No. No, I don't know.
Sure don't.
Clover and Oreo are just two of the millions of animals who end up in shelters across the United States each year. They are the forgotten, the unwanted, the abandoned. And they are the result of pet overpopulation.
It's a sad fact of life and has been part of the American scene for more than 150 years that there are too many animals for the number of available homes.
This problem has financial implications nationwide.
Estimates have run as high as $2 billion. That's an amazing amount of money when you think about it. It's something that's almost an invisible cost of government. And you also have to stop and think of what $2 billion could do in America. Some positive things. Education or safety, law enforcement, all of these things could benefit from that additional money.
There are between 4,000 and 6,000 shelters in America today. They all operate differently, and standards of care vary from city to city. There is one constant. They all take in more animals than they can care for.
There's a space problem in shelters because there's a continuing inflow of animals, whereas the flow of animals out never matches the number that come in.
Even though it breaks everybody's heart, they are saddled with the task of putting these animals down.
There's an animal shelter in Chicago that I like to walk by and look in the window, and I look at all those great dogs and cats, and I'm hoping they're going to find a home. But you know in the back of your mind that for many of them, there's no other way other than euthanization.
Clover and Oreo may be safe for the moment, but their chances for survival are slim. It's 11 a.m. now in Los Angeles, and a team from Animal Services is bringing in lots of stray dogs from the morning run. The dogs are taken to one of 6 city shelters for evaluation.
Once we pick up an animal, it's scanned for a microchip. We look for any IDs.
If an animal is lucky, they'll have a microchip embedded underneath their skin. The chip will contain the contact information of their family.
There it is.
The chip itself is permanent, so it'd be very easy for us to match up a dog to its owner. I wish there was more people that were microchipping. The animals are given injections to protect them while they're in there. They're looked over by the registered veterinary technicians that we have at the shelters, and they're photographed.
The photos then go onto the internet.
People can look on the website. They don't have to come in the shelter to look for their animal.
This dog, the lab mix we call Clover, is too frightened to even move. He has no tags, no microchip, no way to reunite him with a family. After receiving treatment for a bite wound on the back of his neck, he is brought to his new living quarters. And in Chicago, a kitten named Oreo is relaxing in her new cage. She was rescued from an abandoned building along with 2 other cats. Now, one of her sisters is being checked by the shelter's veterinarian, Dr. Peter Yamaji.
This is a young female, approximately about 7 to 8 months of age. So far, she's in good condition, and I see no significant problems, current problems with her that would restrict impoundment. Nothing contagious, obviously, and that more importantly being the upper respiratory aspect of it, but a good personality as well.
Adoption is the best hope for these animals, but they are counting on a public that may not even know they are there.
Do you know where your local animal shelter is?
No, I have no idea.
No, I have no clue.
I do not.
No, I don't.
Over by the zoo, maybe?
Historically, animal shelters have been located in the poor parts of town. They've been sited next to garbage dumps or the public works collection yard, and therefore it becomes an unpleasant place to go.
A lot of people believe the fallacy that it's only the junkyard animals or animals that have behavior problems or are ill or sick, and that's absolutely not true. 20% of animals that enter shelters are usually purebred.
Location and reputation, problems that plague most municipal shelters. And while there is some tax dollar funding, most of the money goes to retrieving, feeding, housing, and euthanizing animals, not advertising.
Therefore, we have poor market share. Only 17% of companion animals come from animal shelters.
Nikki Prutzos is the Executive Director of Animal Care and Control for the City of Chicago.
Our facility historically has not been one that people associate with adoptions. When you have limited resources, certainly raising awareness can be a challenge.
Very few people come in to adopt, and every day, more and more animals pour in. If they're not coming from the streets, they're coming from families who no longer want them.
Is that your dog, sir?
That's my dog, yeah.
Did he bite anyone?
No, nobody.
He didn't bite no one?
No.
Okay.
Just I can't keep it in my house anymore.
1 out of 10 dogs will stay with their original owner. 5 out of 10 will change owners before they're a year old. The rest will end up here in animal shelters.
The most common reason people give is they're moving and they have not found a place that allows pets, or there's landlord issues with new pets that they bring in.
Your landlord says you can't keep it no more?
No, I can't.
Other ones are behavioral problems, of course, can't train. A lot of people put just simply can't keep, I think because they feel a little shameful about it.
He's almost up on the fence.
The real reason that people usually relinquish animals is because they were ignorant of what responsible pet ownership entails.
Clover is occupying much-needed space. He needs to find a family who will take him in, or he too will be put to sleep. Oreo's fate is also uncertain. She is one of the millions of cats that come into shelters each year. Some are turned in by their owners. Others are caught roaming the streets. But there is another factor that contributes to the constantly surging population: the phenomenon of feral cats. These cats were once pets and allowed to roam free. Over time, they grow wild.
The lifespan of a feral animal is not a happy one. They usually live about 2 or 3 years. They're very unhealthy. They don't have enough food. They are exposed to all elements. They're exposed to cruelty a lot.
And if the cat does survive, the population can grow out of control.
These animals are out in the communities having litter after litter. Those little kittens fill up everybody's homes.
For example, just one of those little kittens and her offspring, allowed to roam free, could theoretically produce 420,000 cats in 7 years. Some animal welfare groups advocate programs known as Trap, Neuter, Return, or TNR. A feral cat is brought in, spayed or neutered, then brought back to their neighborhood. In this way, the population is slowly diminished. Paula Faceas of Chicago is a proponent of TNR.
It's obviously not optimal to release any animal out in the elements. We would all love them all to have a bed and a home. But the reality is these are wildcats. Any kind of overpopulation is a problem, and managing feral communities is a solution.
But unfortunately, most of the feral cats that end up in shelters don't have a chance of adoption.
A lot of shelters euthanize feral cats because they feel they can't be pets and they can't be in the home, and they are better off being dead than being alive the 3 or 4 years they're probably going to live their lifespan.
Luckily, Oreo is not feral, but she is still in danger of the same fate. She must undergo a physical from the shelter veterinarian. If she shows any signs of illness, the shelter will most likely have to put her down.
We have to euthanize sick cats simply because we don't have the resources to care for them or the space. They have to be separated from other cats in the population because they could spread their disease.
There's not enough space, not enough resources, and millions of animals will have to be killed in the United States this year.
People don't realize how many animals are euthanized, how many animals do become homeless, just the sheer numbers.
The statistics that I found amazing are in the United States, 10,000 humans born each day, 70,000 puppies and kittens born each day. Imagine, how you're going to assume the responsibility for that. The fact is, many people don't. So there are many more dogs and cats that frankly don't have good homes and never will.
One homeless dog in a California shelter has only a short time to be adopted because the new animals arriving at this shelter need Clover's cage space too. Oreo, an abandoned cat in Chicago, is enjoying the attention she's getting in the warm shelter. Volunteers give her the benefit of human contact, and she's flourishing.
Animals need to have love and attention on a daily basis and for significant periods of time. An animal needs companionship.
But now, it's time for Oreo's checkup with the shelter veterinarian.
What concerns me already on the examination with this cat, little female, a slight discharge from the left eye, and there is some evidence of discharge on the nose. So, unfortunately, this cat I probably will not allow in the facility and assign it for euthanasia.
Oreo has symptoms of a potentially contagious virus. The shelter has little space to isolate her and can't risk getting the other cats sick. She will have to be euthanized. There are simply too many dogs and cats in America, and the cause of pet overpopulation is easy to identify.
The problem is largely due to the lack of education in terms of responsible pet ownership and the lack of aggressive spay-neuter programs.
Despite the deaths of so many animals every year, many people still neglect to spay or neuter their pets, a very routine procedure that prevents them from reproducing. There are owners that rely on their own methods of birth control.
I understand the reasons why dogs are neutered, and as far as overpopulation goes, well, that's my responsibility as a responsible dog owner. I'm not going to let that happen.
But Dr. Peter Haase, a highly respected veterinarian, says that trying to plan for an animal's natural instinct is just not feasible.
Many pet owners feel that they can keep their pets under control so they don't go out and accidentally breed. However, it's very easy for them to slip out of our hands, and it only takes a second.
Then there are the owners who seem to have slightly more superstitious reasons.
Dog fixed. When I breed him, he will be more stronger and more powerful. He will act like a man, not like a puppy.
Dr. Haase, however, says that these rationales are no more than myths.
Neutering a male dog is not going to inhibit them from becoming a fully male dog.
I wanted to let him have a litter because if you don't neuter your dog, it's very healthy if you at least let them have sex once. It's just better for them.
Another common myth is that your pet needs to have sex once or twice before being spayed or neutered in order to be a normal, happy, healthy animal. That's a complete myth and misconception.
I think when males are intact, they want to go out and do stuff and they want to play, and have fun. Whereas after you neuter them, they just, they lose it. It's like just taking away like their battery pack or something, And I say, yes, neutering makes them fat, and lazy. I know it for a fact. I've seen it happen.
Getting fat and lazy after being spayed or neutered is a very common misconception. If you spay and neuter your dog or cat, it's not going to become fat or lazy because of it.
I feel it should be done after the dog has had at least 2 heats, and a male dog should be 6 to 9 months old.
Waiting till an animal is 6 to 9 months old before neutering it is not important. They can certainly be neutered at a younger age.
He's really special to me, and I guess I'm afraid when he dies, there's not going to be another one like him, so I would have liked for him and another dog to have puppies.
I'm sure that you have a wonderful, fantastic pet. That doesn't mean that the puppies are going to be that same way. You're not going to get your same dog over again.
Melanie Sobel at the Chicago City Shelter witnesses the result of these beliefs firsthand. Too many animals.
I don't think this problem is going to go away unless there's a lot of education and people realize that allowing their animals to breed indiscriminately, they're adding to the problem. They're not helping the problem.
Are they both from a shelter? Yes. Cuties? Part of my job as a veterinarian is to help educate my new puppy and kitten owners the importance of having their pets spayed and neutered. Do you have any concerns about the procedure or what happens?
I guess my biggest concern would be I have 3 little kids at home, so
Okay.
for the healing aspect.
It's important for me to explain to them the health benefits of it, in addition to how important it is that they're spayed or neutered so they don't contribute to our pet overpopulation.
Most of the unwanted go to places like this, a sterile and somber euthanasia room.
We do lethal injection here when we put animals to sleep. Fatal Plus is injected into the animal's vein. They lose consciousness in about 3 to 5 seconds. It's very humane.
This is Oreo's fate.
Emotionally, it's a very taxing process to know that you are actually taking lives away.
Euthanizing animals makes me feel sick to my stomach, actually. But it's a reality, and you have to deal with it.
There are critics of the public shelter system who say euthanasia is not necessary. They are the leaders of the no-kill movement.
There are countries where it's actually illegal to kill a healthy, homeless pet. It's just not allowed. And we in this country have just somehow fallen into the habit of assuming that if you can't find a dog or cat a home in a few days, then you just kill it.
Advocates like Michael Mountain run shelters in which an animal is kept until a new home can be found.
Most shelters that are killing the animals that come into their care just because they have a slight cold or some little minor health or behavior problem don't understand that it's really easy to get them off into good homes.
But no-kill shelters do not have to deal with the same high number of animals as city-run shelters. For example, Mountain's Best Friends Animal Sanctuary currently houses 1,800 animals. The Chicago City Shelter takes in 30,000 animals a year.
They claim that they're this oasis for animals that they don't euthanize. What it's really doing is pitting the 2 organizations against each other, and that's not going to help the overall problem. No-kill facilities do save animals' lives, but it's a small, small fraction of the homeless animals that's out there.
City-run shelters have neither the space nor the money to handle millions of animals.
The shelters have no choice. They don't like that prospect of euthanizing animals, but there's just an overpopulation, dogs and cats and other animals. And they're hoping to find good homes for them, but not enough people come forward to adopt them.
But if shelters don't euthanize, the alternative for the animal is life in a cage for years without love and attention from a real family. Neither choice is ideal.
I think there has to be another choice. I think we have to be creative. I think we have to do something different. I think we have to change the dynamic.
Sadly, creative new solutions didn't come in time for little Oreo. Clover, however, still has a chance to make it. Tomorrow, the shelter has a mobile pet adoption planned, and dozens of people will be looking for a new pet. In the United States, less than 20% of the people who adopt pets get them from animal shelters. One reason might be that going to a shelter and witnessing the crisis of pet overpopulation firsthand is overwhelming for many would-be pet adopters. Not enough people know that when a human being rescues an animal that would otherwise be euthanized, both reap the benefits. At the city shelter in Chicago, Melanie Sobel sees the majority of the unwanted dogs and cats get put to sleep.
We take in anywhere between 28,000, 30,000 animals a year, and we adopt out about 3,000.
She has also witnessed success stories, abandoned cats and dogs who have discovered people in search of an animal companion. Tracy has come to the Chicago shelter to look for a companion and a playmate for her dog, Foxy. There are rows upon rows of dogs that want her to take them home, and the decision is tough. After looking at each one, Tracy decides on an 8-month-old puppy, who is overjoyed at the attention. Now comes the big test. Her husband, Jack, is waiting outside with their dog, Foxy. They'll have to see if her choice meets with Foxy's approval.
Tighter, let's make sure she's, before I put this one down. It's okay, Foxy, who is this? Who's the baby?
Match.com couldn't have done better. The two dogs take to each other from the start.
Is there any unacceptable...
But before Tracy and her husband can adopt, they'll have to go through a mandatory screening process.
That does not include... We actually like to call it an adoption counseling process. We're trying to educate people and make sure that the animal is going to be a good match. If this animal becomes ill or injured, are you financially prepared to deal with that?
That's a normal part of taking care of an animal.
Right. No, we just want to make sure people understand the financial obligation.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's what we do.
The question and answer session is a requirement for all prospective pet owners.
If you move in the future, if you plan on moving, what do you plan on doing with the pet?
Oh, they're members of the family. They come with. Okay. There's no leaving them behind. We
make sure people know what they're getting themselves into, that this is a lifetime commitment for the animal. It's a financial obligation, so that won't be an issue.
Once Melanie is satisfied that it's a good match, she approves the adoption.
You know, she has not been spayed yet, so she'll be spayed tomorrow morning, and then you'll pick her up tomorrow at 5.
In Chicago, as in most cities, the shelter spays or neuters the animals they adopt out.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
No, we're just excited to get the dogs.
Well, thank you very much for choosing to adopt. We really appreciate it.
Tracy, Jack, and of course Foxy have rescued a dog from euthanasia. And in Los Angeles, another young dog is hoping that he too can have a family to call his own. It's been a long week for Clover. He had a harrowing near miss with a car. Was chased down and taken off the streets by animal services. And finally, he has adjusted to his new home in the shelter. Now Clover's time is running out. He will have to be adopted soon, or be euthanized. The animal shelter is trying to prevent that from happening through one of their adoption outreach programs. On July 13th, 2002, Clover is taken from his cage. He is one of the dogs that have been chosen to participate in the shelter's mobile pet adoption event in Culver City, California. Due to space limitations, only about 50 of the 1,000 dogs and cats that are housed at the 6 city shelters are brought to the exciting outing.
Your Paul? Yeah, Paul. I'm going to hand you him for a second. Okay. I'll grab this leash back. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Oh yeah, I have 2 Labradors for you. There we go.
With yet another confusing change of scenery, Clover is a little nervous. He gets a bath, a rub down, and a bandana to broadcast his hopefulness. Then, after several tasty treats, he's a different dog and ready for showtime.
And what's his lifespan, more or less, do you know?
Oh, probably 12, 13, 14 years. Good with...
There's a lot of competition here today.
I just wanted you to know. Sheltie, and he's up
A Sheltie, a Dalmatian, and a bunch of puppies are getting a lot of attention.
puppy. Oh, what a sweetie.
Did you guys have anything in mind when you came here, or just
A
dog?
smaller,
Yeah,
smaller dog.
he's pretty much full grown.
Got him on the street in South Play.
A number of prospective adopters stop by and check out Clover.
Possibly. We need to find someone that just wants to lay around and get pounded by a kid.
Look at his tongue. Yeah. Oh, he's a year old.
But as the hours pass by, no one shows any definite interest in the lab mix. The adoption day is almost over. It seems that Clover will not find a family, and he'll be brought back to the shelter. But then he gets one last chance to make an impression when he meets Jeanette James.
Oh, he's so sweet. He needs a really, really good family.
This mother of 2 is looking for a new dog, a new companion, a new friend.
No, he's great. Well, he's probably had
He
it
looks
real
like
rough.
he's so stressed and just so tired. Look at you, baby.
His eyes closed.
Oh, I'm so excited.
How do I know what to feed him?
The vet will tell you, and how much.
Okay. Oh, I'm so happy. But he's very happy. I said that he needed a home and I needed a dog.
So we're certainly going to take him.
You are going to take him? Oh,
Yeah.
good. That's okay.
Come here, sweetie.
After filling out the adoption papers, Jeanette has a new best friend, and Clover has a family to call his own. Clover is one of the lucky few. In the United States, where pet overpopulation runs rampant, there are still millions of other animals out there, homeless, forgotten.
You want to tell him sit, Ben? Tell him sit. Sit. Good job. Tell him.
After 4 months in his new home, Clover looks like a different dog.
Oh, yeah. That's a good boy. Yeah. You want to give Clover a kiss? Give him a kiss. Aw, thank you.
His wound is healed. His coat, once matted with grime from the streets of Los Angeles, is clean and sleek. Jeanette James and her 2 children, Serena and Ben, have welcomed the grateful lab mix into the family with open arms. But Clover's story is the exception, not the rule.
Tell him we love you, Clover.
Most of the abandoned animals in the United States end up being euthanized. With millions of dogs and cats killed in this country every year, the complicated problem of pet overpopulation may seem insurmountable, but there is a solution. The first step, adopting the animals who need rescuing now.
Animals are viewed as a commodity that are bought and sold. People make a profit off of them. Therefore, there's puppy mills that sell to pet stores. And I think as long as people are making money off of them, there's going to be a problem with pet overpopulation. And I think everybody should go to a shelter for a companion animal. Until the day there are none sitting in shelters, people should get them from shelters.
Local shelters across the country have thousands of dogs and cats available for adoption. There are also services that rescue and find homes for purebred dogs.
My name is Michelle Smith, and I do rescue for the French Bulldog Rescue League of America and the Chicago Miniature Schnauzer Club.
Working in concert with the city shelter, Michelle finds homes for purebred schnauzers and French bulldogs.
When a shelter calls me about a dog that they have, I'll go pick the dog up. I meet the people at the shelter, and then I bring the dog home. I take it to my vet. It will be neutered. The dog usually lives with me for at least 2 weeks. I get to know the dog, and then I try to match up the best home for that particular dog.
Arlene Lynch performs the same service for basset hounds.
We rescued and placed 170 bassets last year, and we're a fairly new organization. We're about 3 years old. The shelters work very well with us. When we pull a pedigreed dog out of a shelter, we're saving 2 lives because it opens a cage for another dog.
For 16-year-old Miles and his mother Diana, Arlene's organization was a perfect fit.
I just really like basset hounds. I like the basset hound look with the long ears and really long. And if it wasn't purebred, it wouldn't look quite the same.
We had started researching on the internet of websites of dogs that you could adopt. And that's kind of how we veered toward a rescue dog.
Miles found Basset Buddies Rescue, and Arlene introduced him to Bruno.
Well, we went to meet Arlene. She was the nicest lady. We could tell she really cared about the dog. She really wanted Bruno to have a good home.
Since then, Miles and Bruno have been fast friends.
He came into our home just like he was part of the house already.
I'm very happy that we got Bruno. He's a great dog.
There are people in this world who feel that purebred or pedigreed dogs, the overpopulation doesn't apply to them, and that isn't true, because every breed rescue is drowning, and that's why we spay and neuter.
There are some people, however, who simply can't afford the cost. Some cities and organizations around the United States are trying to help by instituting low-cost spay-neuter programs.
I'm a business person. I believe in solutions and progressive ways to solve problems.
Paula Faceas is the founder of Paws Chicago, and she took her quest to end overpopulation to the streets.
We opened the Paws Spay Neuter Clinic here in Chicago 2 years ago, and the purpose is to reduce the unwanted pets. It's free to anyone on any form of public assistance.
Just one simple spay-neuter operation like this one helps diminish pet overpopulation dramatically.
It will reduce by tenfold the numbers of unwanted pets. One unwanted animal having a litter on the street, whether it's a cat or a dog, and those animals reproducing, the numbers are incredibly high. So by fixing that one pet, you're really stemming the whole problem at its source.
I want to know how much it's going to cost to get him neutered.
Okay, well, we could do that for you. We have a program here with the city of Los Angeles where we can give you a free spay-neuter voucher. Without neutering your pet, it would be $100 for licensing. By doing this, it's only $10. Oh, yeah.
To realize the decline in pet population, experts say that at least 70% of all dogs and cats must be sterilized. Those who work in animal rescue can only hope that their efforts, and the efforts of groups like Paws, will stem the flow.
It's a continuing cycle. There's so many of them, and it seems like it's never going to stop.
As frontline workers like Animal Control Officer Miguel Gonzalez know, the best efforts of those involved may come to nothing because the public does not always respond.
We have people out there that a lot of times they don't want our help.
Senator Dick Durbin hopes that the U.S. government will step up and deal with the problem more aggressively.
We have to do more. I don't think the government's done enough when it comes to this responsibility. I think it's important that elected officials try to set a good example. And a good example when it comes to animals would be to go to an animal shelter, to adopt an animal that otherwise might be euthanized. It could start at the top with the president, through senators and governors and the rest of us.
I like this one. You like this guy? Let's get him out. Let's take a look at him.
In the end, perhaps the answer to pet overpopulation can only be found when people make a lifetime commitment to the animals they adopt.
I think everybody that loves animals needs to get involved, and get involved in an agency that educates its public. That's the critical component, because an educated public will come up with even better solutions as time goes on.
Our first dog, Sue, was around with us for 13 or 14 years, and she was just part of the family, and I still miss her. I wish she were around still. I think animals really add something to your life. They're great friends. They're at your side. If you treat them well, they'll return that kindness many times over.
These are our best friends. These are family members. They should not be caged. They should not be killed. They should be loved in a loving home.
Thank you.
Understanding the role that we humans play in pet overpopulation is the first step towards ensuring loving homes and a happy future for all pets. And if my dog Blue is watching at home, this stuff with Lenny, that's just acting. That's just something we did for today and meant absolutely nothing.